Hello everyone, thank you so much for being with us here on Joyasonyelive. It's wonderful to know that you're right there listening to us and watching us, really. But the show must go on. A couple of days ago, President Bola Tinubu crossed that symbolic 100 days in office. Well, tongues have been wagging. Lots of people have said that there have been so many promises with not much implementation. Others have really commended the president and the strides. However, what do you think? And most especially to now that we Nigerians have become used to the end of fuel subsidy, what's next? What's that cushioning effect? What are those promises, especially in the security, in agriculture? Are we seeing as many foreign direct investments as was promised? That's what we'll be discussing. And we have in the studio an APC chieftain, that's the All Progressive Congress chieftain, Obol Okoy Obonobla. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you, Joy. Yes. Nice to see you again.
It's wonderful to see you again. You seem to not care much about the end of fuel subsidy. Some of us are still struggling.
Well, I'm in Nigeria.
You're in Nigeria, but
yeah, everybody is affected.
Is everybody?
Even the government.
I mean, Chief, some of us cannot complain as much as you can. Or rather, you cannot complain at all, where some of us are.
We go to the same market.
I don't think so. But we'll go for a short break and return to get serious into this conversation. Nigeria and Tinubu's 100 days in office. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that. Now, when President Bola Tinubu crossed that 100 days in office, there wasn't much of a fanfare, according to some people, probably because the presidential election tribunal delivery was made on that day, and so it would have been insensitive. That's what some people thought. But let's hear your thoughts on it. Do you think that should have affected the celebration for 100 days in office? That it was.
Why should we celebrate?
When I mean, over the years.
Why should we celebrate 100 days?
Well, over the years, there's so much that the media, first of all, would have been doing a lot of analysis that didn't happen on that day.
Well, that is an American tradition we are importing into the country, and I shouldn't worry us. It's, you know, this first 100 days was first introduced into politics or political language or lexicon in 1932 during the presidency of Roosevelt.
Right.
Roosevelt was the president that was elected in 1932, and he was in office from 1932 to 1945 in America, the United States of America. As a matter of fact, he was a lamed man. He couldn't walk. He was using a wheelchair. So that is when people started talking about 100 days. His first 100 days in 1932 of his inauguration. So we like importing things from foreign lands.
But it's not particularly bad if you have to review the activities of the president. I mean, in the first 100 days, it's quite symbolic, isn't it? 100 days.
I don't think so. But since we have followed the tradition, and we can use it to evaluate, we can use it to assess the direction the president is going, or the governors are going. So, but I am thinking it's too short a time for one to begin to assess and evaluate the president on where the direction is going.
Just short a time for the president.
Just 30 days, how many days? 90 days or 100 days. It's just too little. You know, when the president was inaugurated, 29th of May. And then he has to appoint ministers who are to assist him, carry out or exercise his executive powers. Then it took a while, for almost 2 months, 60 days or 65 days went away, and then after that, we were left with just some few days to 100 days. So I think it's not fair.
It's too short a time for a review.
It's not fair, yeah, to review or to evaluate or to assess the performance of the president.
Whose fault would you say it is that the president, who we thought would come like he always promised, he will hit the ground running? Whose fault is it that he
I think he
did not set up his cabinet immediately he came into office?
I would not begrudge him for that. I would not criticize him for that. It's just a reality, okay, of putting a cabinet in a country as complex as Nigeria, with the complexities of Nigeria, mosaic complexities. It's not easy. We are talking about a country that is so diverse, and then, the nature of politics. Everybody wants to be in the cabinet. So he has to take his time and, to bring out those he wants, those who will work with him, those who will share his, his vision. You don't just go to the street and start appointing people, or just go to the political party and start appointing people. You have to screen them, you have to scrutinize them to see whether or not they fit into your vision.
Okay, so the president at his inauguration had removed fuel subsidy, and the attendant effect of that proclamation, Nigerians are still facing it until this moment. We have been waiting, we've heard promises, and I know a couple of weeks back the president had a nationwide broadcast where he churned out several promises for MSMEs, for the agricultural sector, mining, manufacturing. Nothing much seems to have been done. Like you said, his ministers have only just been inaugurated, but Nigerians are becoming impatient. Is it legitimate?
Nigerians have to be patient because if you want a reform of this country, those difficult decisions we have been running away for the past 50 years has to be taken. Somebody has to do the job. And I think that's what the president has done. But sometimes we make it as if Nigeria is a unitary country or states. We are a federal state. Nigeria is made up of the federal government. The federal government is just in Abuja. And then we have 36 governors, who are actually the ones that are governing Nigeria. The landmass called Nigeria. Because if you take Abuja out of out of 36 states, it's just a dot of Nigeria. And then we have the local government chairmen, 774 local government chairmen. What are they doing? What is their package to alleviate the sufferings of Nigeria? What is the package of the governors to alleviate the sufferings of Nigeria? So if you are asking the president to account, for stewardship, as regards the palliatives he said he's going to give us, so to ameliorate the rise in fuel price and food items and all that. So we also have to ask the governors and the local government chairman what they are doing.
Speaking about asking the local government chairman and the state governors, I mean, some monies were released to the state governors, and the president made it very clear. In fact, this administration, we must give a part at the back.
Yes, for so much money. And all the governors have been talking about increase in their monthly allocation from the federation account, which I don't agree entirely with the governors. I don't think the governors should rely on allocation from Abuja. The governors should also try to generate internal revenue in their states.
So that's where my question was going. How can the president ensure that these internal revenues can be generated?
Well, I don't think the president does not pretend over the governors. The governors are autonomous. The governors are just like mini countries.
But do you think holding back on these many allocations and the increase?
It is the people of Nigeria. That's what I don't see, and that is why there's a disconnect. When in Abuja, everybody in Nigeria, everybody talks about the president, but nobody talks about the governors. Nobody talks about the local government chairmen. These are tiers of government. We have 3 tiers of government: the federal, we have the states, we have the local governments. Nigerians should put pressure, the kind of pressure they exert on the president. We should have that in the governors. And we should have that on the local governments. As a matter of fact, early this week, I saw, the money the local governments in Nigeria have collected in the past 2 years. So staggering amount of money.
Do you think it cascades? Because there's also been
I saw for my local government. You know, and there's nothing on ground in my local government.
I agree with you.
Yes, I live in the airport.
But these are local government chairmen that tell you, don't look at the paper, look at what indeed comes to our hands.
Yeah, so who should?
Because the governors often, according to local government, some local government chairmen, the governors often dish out this money.
Yes, so that is why the civil society must really come out and become watchdogs of the governors. We don't ask questions. The governors are so powerful.
Are you talking about this country where we are seeing local government chairmen bowing to governors?
That's what I'm saying. Why should that happen? If we don't want it to happen, it will not happen. Okay? But because we want that to happen, because everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to live comfortable to the detriment of the people. If the local government chairmen are truly representing us, they should not be, kowtowing to the governors. Okay? They shouldn't allow the governors to touch their money. Yes, because they have the right. Because they have been elected by the people from that particular local government area, they have the right to ensure that governors don't touch their money. But okay, they can go to court.
I'm happy I'm talking to. I'm happy I'm talking to a legal or learned person here. I mean, we also read in the papers a couple of days back, really, where in Ogun State, I think, a local government chairman cried out that he had not gotten any allocation from the governor, and he was suspended, unilaterally suspended. This is a local government chairman who was elected. The governor just suspended him.
Well, that's illegal.
Nobody's exactly.
That's illegal.
But what else has been done? A caretaker committee has been set up for that local government.
To challenge it. You see, democracy is a very painful process. It's a very cumbersome process. It's a very slow process. Let me give you an example. When the current president was governor, he created local government councils in Lagos State. And the president, then Asonye, said, look, he was wrong, that it was illegal for the governor of Lagos State to create local government council. He went to court, and the next thing we saw was Asonye withholding the allocation to local government councils in Lagos State. And the governor went to court, and the Supreme Court declared that it was illegal, that the federal government has no right to withhold
allocation.
Exactly. So that is it. So, and it created a precedent, a constitutional precedent, that what was the precedent? That the governor or the federal government or the president cannot do that. Exactly. That you cannot say, you will not release monies from the federation account meant for a particular state, for local government councils in that particular state. So if a local government chairman is suspended for asserting his powers as provided by the local government law in that state, by the constitution, then the local government chairman should go to court and ask the court to declare what the governor has done illegal. But we don't have local government chairmen who have the courage. Okay, so let them have courage. What are the councillors too? They can also challenge the process. So because we see government as an avenue to enrich yourself, to empower yourself and your immediate family. If you see government positions as a service to the people, we will not mind having some discomfort when you fight back and they try to victimize you. Okay, you shouldn't feel worried. Exactly. But they feel worried. Oh, I am my comfort zone. I don't want to be pushed out of my comfort zone where I have access to free money. So that kind of mindset.
But this is an unfortunate precedent the governor is setting. He's also inadvertently rather talking to other local government chairman to say, if you go the same way, speaking out about
it all boils down to what I was saying. I expect the civil society in that local government area to encourage that local government chairman, to strengthen him, by showing the governor that power truly belongs to the people. They can do that by saying, look, you cannot suspend our chairman. You didn't elect him, and we have a lot of legal precedents.
Right.
Where the Supreme Court said, a governor cannot suspend an elected local government chairman. So it's just like suspending a legislator. If you want to suspend a legislator, then you have to go to the House. You know, the House can suspend him. But I don't think we, the people, have the right to suspend somebody who's representing us. Equally, the governor has no right to suspend a local government chairman who is elected.
In an ideal situation, but here we are.
It is. We can create that ideal situation by doing the right thing, by showing courage, okay, and not minding what we are going to suffer if we take on the system, okay. You know what happened in South Africa? People like Nelson Mandela sacrificed almost 27 years of his life to take on the system. At the end of the day, who was proven right? He was. He became an icon. And we still talk about him today, even though he's in his grave. And people will continue to talk about Nelson Mandela for the next 500 years. Just like we talk about Christ, we talk about Prophet Muhammad. So that is it.
Right.
But if we are so mindful of what we are going to get from the system, because we want to build a house, because we want to buy a big car, then that is it. The system will continue to go down. So I pray that we should have leaders who have courage, who are true leaders, who are servants,
who would ensure that
the right thing is done, and those who can talk truth to power for the right thing to be done.
Well, the president has increased allocation. The governors have admitted that there's an increased allocation. The president had even issued out some monies, about 174 billion naira to the states across the country. How can he ensure, as president? I need you to enlighten us right now, because it's one thing to give this monies out. It's another thing for
accountability and transparency.
Yes, so that Nigerians will stop looking at the president, looking up to the president for the smallest
there's nothing
thing
the president can do. Okay, the president is not a superintendent of the governors. The president is not a potentate. Okay, the governors are not under the president. That is why we have institutions in the states, Auditor General of the states, Auditor General of local government councils. We have the houses of assembly. These institutions are constitutionally empowered or powered, you know, like the House of Assembly, to be watchdogs, to provide a system of checks and balances, to ensure that the executive branch, the governors, doesn't exceed their limits. They have limits. All their powers and limitations are spelled out by the Constitution. So the houses of assembly has to ensure that they don't exceed, you know, their limits by an inch. But we still boil down to what we were saying. What do you have? What do we see? You go to the states, the members of the houses of assembly, they want to be friends of the governors. You know, they want to kowtow to the governors. They want to be lackeys of the governors just because of what they think that the governor can give them. But that shouldn't be. If they are really representing the people, they are the people's representative. In a democracy, the legislators are the representative of the people. They should talk for the people fearlessly, without minding whose ox is God. Okay.
Now, what can Nigerians? We see how governors become emperors in states. So that
yes. I know. I for so many years I was a civil society activist. You know, if you ask Governor Moke,
whatever stopped you?
You don't know. Well,
you got into governance and
I think I did it for a long time, and I wanted to give back to society. Okay, in by being part of governance. So that is it, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, what I'm saying is, from 1999, when I was a young lawyer in Calabar, during the regime of Donald Duke, during the regime of Imoke, and to a small extent, the regime of I was, playing that role. You know, I had a non-governmental organization, and our objective was to promote transparency, accountability, promote democratic culture in cross-river state, and we did a lot. So we should have a lot of NGOs, you know, working towards that, you know, in that regard, right, for the entire civil society. We should have to be watchdogs, to put pressure on the members of the House of Assembly, to put pressure on local government chairmen, to know what they are doing, how money is being spent, money that is budgeted for projects, how the money is expended, and the contractors have they executed in accordance with the terms of contracts and so forth and so on. I think we need more of that in our states, in our local government areas, to put pressure on these leaders. Just like the pressure is being put on the president at the federal level. There's so much, there's certain things the president cannot do because of the National Assembly. But those things are being done at the state level, at the local government level, and nobody cares. Okay, it's about a month or a little past the month that he inaugurated his cabinet, the ministers. What should Nigerians start expecting? Because right now, like I said earlier, if you hear the pulse from Nigerians, they are becoming impatient with all that is expected, all the promises that have been made. Well, what should we do to ensure these ministers... We can start evaluating the president, assessing him, his ministers, maybe at the second, third year of his government.
But Nigerians are suffering at this.
They are suffering. The government does not... I don't think it is right to have this mindset that government will do everything for us in Nigeria.
Not necessarily, but a government that comes back and ends the fuel subsidy regime, a government that did something as drastic as that, we would expect that there should be some cushioning effect and rolled out immediately.
What the president has done, you mentioned it. I didn't mention it from your mouth.
In what regard?
So what I'm saying, the president has come out with palliatives, to alleviate, the sufferings of the Nigerians.
You mean the allocations to the government?
Giving allocations to the governors, and I think 5 billion was provided for each state. What we should do, if we are really suffering, if we are feeling the pinch, is to put pressure on the governors to ensure that this money gets to the people, or the palliatives get to the people, and it is spent judiciously, not some people who have been appointed, maybe a committee to superintend, to supervise the distribution of these palliatives, taking the money into their pockets. So that is what we have to do. It's not just complaining. We must do that.
Right.
Okay? You remember what happened during Jonathan's time, when also palliatives were given, when the price of crude oil fuel was increased. Yes. And then we had a lot of palliatives. At the end of the day, it ended up in people's pockets. Because we are not vigilant. I want Nigerians to be vigilant. I want Nigerians to hold these leaders to account. It's not just criticizing the president.
Who have been made to attack warehouses, to invade warehouses, just so they can get these palliatives. They seem not.
No, I don't think it is because of hunger. It is just some mischievous people, going to lose, palliatives. It's not because of hunger.
What as a matter of fact, will make them go there when nothing is being distributed?
Mischief. And some people have just this, we are young people, anything goes, we can take laws into our hands. I condemn that. We shouldn't encourage that at all. Because if we encourage that, there will be anarchy.
Of course, there will be.
So we shouldn't encourage. If there's anarchy, society will disintegrate, and we don't need that. Okay, so people just have to restrain themselves and ensure that they take advantage of what government has done to alleviate the sufferings of the people. This thing is only in Nigeria, please.
Of course.
We make it as if we are not part of the globe. The global economy has gone down.
It has.
Okay? And every country is feeling the pinch. In the US, in UK, everywhere. It is not only Nigeria. Yes.
Okay, we'll be right back. We're still talking to Obold Okoy Obonobla. We've been discussing Tinubu's 100 days in office. When we return, we'll be talking about Nigeria and the tribunal's delivery judgment that was delivered some days ago. We'll be right back to discuss more. This is still Joyasonyelive. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is still Joyasonyelive, where we've been discussing Tinubu's 100 days in office. Like I said earlier, that day was supposedly not celebrated well because of the PEPT judgment that was done on that day. Now, speaking about that judgment, my question to my guest, Obol Okoy Obunobla, APC chieftain, who has been with us from the beginning of the show, would be, do you think that that judgment would, you know, relax some nerves?
Well, Nigerians' nerves.
Nigerians' nerves. There were some nerves that were taut at the time.
No, I think majority, or maybe 80% of Nigerians are not worried. We're not worried.
Any longer?
Yes, because we have to move on. Elections took place in 25th of February, and the winner was announced in, I think, 2nd of March. So how many months? Almost 5 months ago. We Nigerians have moved on. And those who don't want to move on, fine. They are the minority, because it's a democracy. If the will of the people will prevail, and the will of the people of Nigeria, 8 million Nigerians, as a matter of fact, voted for the incumbent president. So we have moved on. The governors are working, the National Assembly is working, the local government councils are working. So that is it. So those who don't want to move on, they can continue to brood. But we are moving on, because elections are also around the corner. In the next 3 years, we are going to have elections.
Right.
Yeah, so we cannot continue to brood for what has, you know, come to pass.
Right.
Yes.
But would you say that with some threatening to take it up to the Supreme Court,
why not? They have the right.
It would be distracting to this government.
Well, I don't think this part of democracy. It's the part of the price we have to pay for being a young democracy, a nascent democracy. Democracy in Nigeria is quite young, less than 30 years, or just about 25 years or 24 years. So we are learning. We are in the learning curve. So one of the prices we have to pay for to make democracy to flourish in Nigeria, to entrench democracy, a culture of democracy. It's a culture, the value system of democracy. Then we have to, you know, put up with those kind of attitude of people who will never accept defeat. Okay, people who will go to the tribunal, they want to litigate from the tribunal to the Supreme Court. So it's all part of you know, the learning curve, part of the democracy. You know, I believe when our democracy mature, we will see less people, you know, going to contest against you know, election results. And I can say that it has reduced drastically, because I have been around since 1999. You know, I have done some few cases in the election tribunal. I have seen, you know, that in those days, maybe 15 years ago or 10 years ago, there used to be a floodgate of litigation, election litigation, you know, after elections. So it has reduced. So that means that we are doing well. You know, we may not get there, but we are doing well, and we'll finally get there. So
what else? I mean, I read the president's speech after that judgment was made, and he was not gloating. He was in fact trying to say, let's come together and move this country.
Yes, that's the right thing to do.
That's indeed the right
thing. That's the right thing to do. As I said, okay, all the country belongs to all of us. We may disagree during elections, but the elections are over. Then we should come together, put together, have a consensus on the path we want this country to go through. Okay, that is it. So people who are statesmen, who are not partisan politicians, because the difference between being a politician and being a partisan politician. The partisan politician means we always see everything from the political divide. Okay, I belong to party A, you belong to party B. We are enemies. Okay, we will always be shadow boxing. But a politician will embrace his enemy, or somebody who doesn't agree with his perspective. And you see what the president has done. He appointed people from the other side into his cabinet, because
we also see people. We also heard loud cries against such especially Cross River State. I know that a PDP member was appointed into the Niger Delta Development Commission, and that caused an uproar.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree totally with that,
With the uproar?
Yes, I agree.
Or the appointment?
Yeah, but the appointment shouldn't be. And I think some people are trying to shortchange cross-variants, particularly APC. The president has appointed ministers from the other side. So for some commissions, some boards, he should also appoint people from his own party. So I don't see anything wrong with cross-variants protesting. I mean, NDDC is, an intervention agency, which Cross-River State is part of. Okay, so if the member to represent us in NDDC should be a member of our political party, that's APC. It shouldn't be from PDP.
So what when you say it shouldn't be from PDP or any other political party, it means you're picking and choosing how the president should.
No, I am not.
Government of unity.
I am not. I am not. The president has appointed ministers, and he appointed ministers from the other side. Nobody protested.
That's just one minister.
Sure. Not only one, about 10.
Right. Okay.
We were told that by former Governor Wike, that almost 10 ministers were nominated from PDP.
Right.
So if he has done that, he should also go to a state like Cross-River State, which is an APC state. The governor is APC, but we have about two senators from APC. We have about 5 members from the House of Reps from APC. We have about 18 members out of a 25-member House of the State House of Assembly from APC. So we should also try to carry us along too. We are not saying don't carry along people from other parties. Also carry us along.
Right.
And,
okay.
And he has done well by reversing, because I don't think that that decision was good. And Cross-Variants protested, and being a listening leader, he had to reverse, and appointed.
So if you have a staircase conversation with him right now, you will say that his bid for a government of national unity should stop right here.
Well,
should it go
I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that.
There are a host of APC chieftains and members who worked really hard during the election.
I will not advise him to stop at this level.
But it shouldn't come to Cross River.
Well, even Cross River State, but the issue in everything in life, you have a general rule. Even in law, general rules. We also have exceptions to general rules. So we should have exceptions in some of the states, because if APC didn't win Cross River State, if the governor was not from APC, then you can allow somebody from another state who is in PDP to influence an appointment in Cross River State. But we are, APC, and I think the governor should be consulted. The problem was that the governor was not consulted. If the governor was consulted, the governor would have advised, appropriately. It was not all about that guy, who was appointed not being a member of APC. It was also about where he was coming from,
which is
from a two local government area of Cross River State, and the oil wells are not in that part of the state. The oil wells are in the south, in Apabio, in Odupani, in Calabar. And the law says, the NDDC law, I'm not the one saying so, the law says the member to represent that state must come from an oil producing area,
right.
Not state. If that was nonsensical, then the legislature wouldn't have inserted that provision. That provision is there, and we are a constitutional government. We should strive as much as possible to follow the law. Which I will give an example when the president was governor of Lagos State,
right? And
the President Obasanjo didn't want to follow the law, but being a federalist, being a Democrat to the core, he went to the court, fought from the High Court to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court to ensure that the right thing is done. So all what we are saying is, in as much as we are we want to bring everybody together, or want a government of national unity, we should follow the law. The law was not followed, because the guy who was appointed is not from a non-oil producing area, and it's not a good precedent. Okay, it will also cause tension in Cross River State. if we appoint people who are not from where they or the what would I call it, the effect of oil exploration is being carried out. Yes, that is why they set up NDDC, to mitigate the effect of oil exploration, which results in oil spillage that damages the ecosystem, the marine life, the vegetables and so forth and so on. So if you now bring somebody who comes from an area that doesn't suffer from that consequence of oil, operations, then you are not helping matters.
Okay, we digressed a bit.
Yes.
We're still talking about the tribunal ruling and how some people still have not gotten comfortable with the ruling. Now, I was just asking now, what are the lessons learned, if I'm to ask you? We keep talking about how our democracy is a nascent democracy, it's still growing. That is accepted. However, do you think the litigations that we are seeing and the rush to the court for interpretation of the elections would be less, or maybe even very minimal, if elections in Nigeria comes up more transparently?
Well, I don't think the elections were not conducted in a more transparent manner. They were, but it shows the infallibility of human beings. Elections are conducted by human beings. INEC will appoint ad hoc staff. Together with its own staff, they conduct the elections with Nigerians, all of us. If we do the right thing, if we are law-abiding, if police units, are declared open by 8 o'clock, and all of us, we go there.
Exactly.
We queue in a very calm manner, peaceful manner. Then we are accredited and vote and leave, or wait until when the votes are collated and announced. Then we will not have problem. If we don't want to cut corners, politicians want to use army. They want to use policemen. They want to cut corners. They want to come to the polling unit to canvass for votes. Whereas the law says 24 hours to polling, you shouldn't canvass for votes again. Right. So if we carry ourselves well, we will not have all these problems. But we are human beings. We are liable, prone to making mistakes. We are not infallible. So because of that, we should be very, very careful to begin to say, election is not transparent. It is this and that and that and that. That is why the law says, if you show evidence, if the Electoral Commission shows evidence that, look, substantially we have complied with the law, okay, then that election should not be invalidated. And that is what we saw. If you are alleging, overvoting or this and that, the onus is on you. It is not on INEC.
INEC, exactly.
Okay? If you are not able to establish that, then the tribunal will not invalidate the election, because the tribunal or the lawmakers, they are mindful of the fact that it's a very difficult process, and that human beings are also very difficult. You may give instructions on INEC staff, do this, you will do the right opposite. If that mistake or doing the opposite by an INEC staff will not undermine the outcome of the election, or will not undermine the votes of the people, then the tribunal will overlook the mistake that was done by an INEC staff during the election. So if it is widespread, maybe in 30 states, 31 states, and there is evidence to prove that, then the tribunal will set aside that election and order for a fresh election. But when we saw all the allegations that were made on paper, and then we saw that they were unable to prove these allegations. For instance, the Labour Party, they brought 13 witnesses. But the law says the witness statement, the statement is going to make its evidence, has to be filed alongside the petition. So if the petition is being filed on the 21st of May, you must file the evidence of all the evidence of the witnesses you want to rely on that day. We saw that they filed, when they were filing their case on the 21st of March, they filed only statements for 3 witnesses. So during the course of the proceedings, they now filed 10 more statements that were not filed
initially.
Exactly, as provided by the law, that you must file the statement of the witness alongside the petition. And then those 10 witnesses' evidence was
Squashed.
And then you have 3 witnesses remaining. Can 3 witnesses nullify an election that was conducted in 176,947 polling units? We have 8,000 electoral wards. We have 36 states and Abuja. So can 3 witnesses upset an election conducted in Nigeria, in all those polling units, all those local government areas, 774 local government areas, all those 8,000 electoral wards and 36 states? It's not possible.
It's not.
So if the case is thrown out, some people who doesn't understand the workings of the law will start making noise. So if you want to challenge an election, so you have to prepare. I have experience during as a lawyer. In 2007, I appeared with Khanagabi, SAN. In 2011, I was on the CPC legal team when we challenged the election of President Jonathan then, and I saw that it
takes a lot of work.
Exactly, to upset a presidential election. You may do for a state; the states are small. Do for National Assembly. But for presidential, you are talking about 36 states in a massive country like Nigeria. So the law takes into account that the logistics of conducting an election is not easy. Okay? The difficulty, the behavior of human beings. That is why the law says, okay, INEC, come and tell us how you conducted this election. And then they comes and say, look, substantially, we have conducted this election in compliance with what the law has asked us to do.
Exactly.
And there is no way the tribunal will,
but in retrospect,
invalidate the election.
Yes, in retrospect, there were some very obvious infringements, and we didn't see.
That is what I'm saying.
Yes, I mean,
if the infringements are not widespread,
they might not be substantial.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm saying is, I mean, we have off-cycle elections coming up, and without prosecution, inadvertently, you're telling these people that
prosecution for what?
For electoral violations. I'm talking about the security agencies now. I'm not even talking about INEC. I'm talking about those who obviously violated the process in the
security agencies are paramilitaries.
They are paramilitary.
Yeah, and they have their own, rules of engagement. They have their own rules for dealing with erring members. Okay, so if you are a police officer or you belong to civil defense or custom or so forth and so on, and you are drafted to assist in election duties,
right?
And you do things that are against the organization, the norms,
mandate, right?
Yeah, the code of conduct of members of the police force or civil defense or customs or SSS, then they have the powers to deal with those members, and it's not something that we should bother us. Those organizations should deal with them, and then those of them who have committed crime, then they should be prosecuted. But there is a procedure. If you are a police officer, you are accused of a crime,
right,
they will first of all subject you to forced discipline. And then before then, if you are found guilty, they will now take you to the courts to prosecute you. So I don't think they have not done that. We heard INEC saying that they were appealing to lawyers, the Nigerian Bar Association, to help them with lawyers because they want to prosecute those people who were arrested during election duties.
Exactly.
Let me say that, look, there is no country where you don't have challenges during elections. Yes, because as I said, it's a very tedious process. Okay, and the nature of human beings. You give instructions, do this, and somebody will do the opposite. So every country, even the bastion of democracy, like America, we are still hearing the effects or the ripples, that happened after the elections, where some people were trying to deny the victory of Biden. A lot of people almost 1,000 people have been sentenced to prison. Okay? So if America, that has practiced constitutional democracy for over 300 years. We have challenges. Well, how much less a country like Nigeria with less than 25 years of practice of constitutional democracy.
Right.
So we should be patient.
We should be patient.
We should be patient. And I think as we keep on, conducting elections, we will learn from our mistakes and make amends. And then the law too has to be amended. We have seen the presidential election judgment, and there are some things that the tribunal has told us that needs to be corrected. So what we need to do is maybe the executive branch of government or the National Assembly itself, in the next exercise of amendment of the Constitution, those things that the tribunal has highlighted, okay, can also be amended, by amending the provisions of the Constitution to bring them in line with what the judgment of the tribunal.
Exactly.
Okay. For instance, a lot of mistakes were made. People taking, pre-election matters to the tribunal. The tribunal doesn't have, jurisdiction, because all Nigerians will not understand. They say, this matter was taken to the tribunal and the tribunal did not consider it. So what the tribunal was saying is that if you take pre-election matters like nomination, like sponsorship, saying that the vice president was not properly nominated, those matters should go to the regular court before the elections, but if you wait and smuggle those things into the election petition, the lawyers from the other side will object and the court will, not consider them. And then you begin to say that, oh, the court is biased, the tribunal is biased, because you don't understand, you don't know. So if some of those things were not put in that proceedings, then maybe they would have decided this case a long time ago, like maybe, nomination, qualification. If you allege that somebody commits perjury, you can't go to the election tribunal to raise that issue. You have to go to a regular court. That is it. Okay.
Now we have other elections coming up soon, with the tribunal delivering judgments across the country. We'll keep reading every day about judgments. What do you think the lessons are for Bayelsa, Kogi State, and Imo State that will have their elections in November? Do you think there will be a difference? Nigerians will learn this decorum you're talking about. We will learn to do things better, or are there lessons that have been learned?
The lessons that political leaders, our politicians, should not be desperate. Okay, they should not, cut corners. We have seen a lot of, yesterday they talk about the nullification of the election of the person who defeated the former governor of Plateau State.
Yes.
Okay. Even in Cross River State today, the member representing Akankwa Biase, is an APC guy. The tribunal nullified this election because of desperation. So some people want to win by all means. They don't care. They disregard the law. They can murder. They can maim people just because they want to win. So that attitude, the lesson is that we should stop being desperate. Okay, we should, work within the confines of the law, and don't see electoral contestation as battlefields where you are required to kill and maim to win territory.
Okay, Okoy Obonobla, thank you so much for being part of the program. I mean, you got heated at some point, but it's always interesting to have you on the program. He's an APC chieftain and a political analyst. It's wonderful to have you. I hope you will come again when I call.
Why not, Joy? Anytime.
So this is where we end today's edition of Joyasonyelive here on Kaftan Television. Do have a wonderful evening, as we'll be back tomorrow.
So